Our movie begins with Rafael and his twin brother, Rin, dueling swords. At that time, Rafael uses his magical abilities to defeat his brother. After the match is over, Rin admits that Rafael cheated and used magic even though the agreement was not to use magical powers in the duel. Rafael tells his brother that as long as he wins, cheating doesn't matter. Then he asks him to duel again. Rin replies that they are not up for it, as they should take care of the magic school they run. However, Rafael insists on taking on his brother's challenge. When Rin agrees, he attacks Rafael viciously and uses a blood spell, telling his brother that he will not give up his share of everything and that he will take over the entire school. Rin tells him that the blood spell is forbidden because it controls its owner, but Rafael continues to use the power of the blood spell and cannot control it, and he and his brother fall from the top of the mountain. Then, we find out that Rin is not dead, and we watch Rafael lying dead on the rocks under the mountain. Then we go to the faraway kingdom of Javaldon and see Sophie waking up and going downstairs to meet her father and his wife, who are asking her to buy some things from the market. As for Aggie, she is a girl who lives in a simple cabin on top of Tomb Hill with her mother, a witch who always needs something to supplement her spells. And Aggie comes to complete the spell that her mother finished and handed over to her friend. On Aggie's path in the woods, she encounters a carriage carrying children who bully her, accusing her of being a witch, and intending to burn her and throw mud at her. Sophie, who is in the woods at the same time, is being beaten up by the children. But then Sophie and Aggie laugh, and we discover that they've been friends for a long time. Then we go back in time to Sophie's visit to her mother's grave. Aggie was the only one who tried to comfort her. Sophie remembers what her mother said before her death, as she told her that she was special and would change the world one day. It turns out then that Sophie and he had established a bond of friendship under the Tree of Wishes in the forest, and this bond was at the time one of the strongest bonds between two friends. Threatened with a knife, who tells her that they don't want witches in Grunefeld, and Sophie hits him on the head. And she takes Aggie and takes them to the library where they used to read children's stories. The owner of the library tells them that there are new books that she continued to like. Sophie chooses to read the story Cinderella, and when she opens the story, she finds a prominent seal of the School of Good and Evil. At that time, the bookkeeper tells them that the School of Good and Evil for wizards exists and tells Sophie that the school sent a mythical being to Grunfeld to choose a girl for them, and since that day, the girl has disappeared and no one has seen her. Sophie wishes to be one of the school's students, and when she returns home, she writes a letter to the school administration asking them to accept her as a student. She then puts the letter in the wishing tree, and the next day, tells Aggie that she must leave Grunfeld because she will become a princess like her mother, who told her before she died. Aggie tells her that she cannot live in Grunefeld without her, and asks her not to leave her. In the morning, Sophie decided that she would not leave Grunfeld alone, as she had promised. But that same night, Sophie decided that she was really going to leave Grunfeld, and before she left, Aggie stopped and told her that she had promised not to leave her alone. At that moment, a legendary bird appeared, carried them and flew them until they reached the School of Good and the School of Evil. Upon their arrival, Aggie enters the School of Good, while Sophie falls into the lake next to the School of Evil. And there I found a large number of students who went down to the lake with them. At the same time, Sophie told the school guard, who were some mythical beings, that she had arrived at the school by mistake, and that her place was in the School of Good. But none of them listened to her. When she entered the school, Sophie met the principal and tried to explain to her that she was in the wrong school. But the headmistress told her that she knew her name and the name of the city she came from, and that she belonged to the fable readers who came from far away to read fable books. Then I told her that she was in the School of Evil, and informed her of the rules and locations of the students in the school. At the same time, Aggie is in the middle of a field full of flowers surrounded by fairies and princesses at the School of Goodness. She asked them to guide her to the path of the School of Evil so that she could bring her friend and move in with her. But they led her to the School of Goodness instead, and when she tried to leave, the fairies forbade her and so she went into the dressing room. There, Sophie met the headmaster of the School of Evil, Doffy, and tried to explain to her that she was not in the right place and that she needed to move to the School of Evil to get her friend. But Duffy told her that they were all in the right school and offered her dresses to choose one to wear. Then the students of the School of Good and the School of Evil met, and when Sophie saw Aggie wearing a dress, It disturbed her because they had put on a long black shirt for her. Then, the principal of the School of Good and the principal of the School of Evil introduced the students to their places and the rules of the School of Evil, and told them about the competition that would be held between the two schools. Then Beatrix entered the hall theatrically, and when Sophie asked her about him, he told her that he was the son of King Arthur and leader of the Knights of the Round Table. Hence, Beatrix participates in a combat show with her classmates from the School of Goodness, where she wields the magical sword Excalibur and impresses Sophie. Then a battle occurred between Beatrix and Jules, a student from the School of Evil, and Beatrix used the enchanted sword, but the headmistress of the School of Evil enchanted Jules' wand, so Beatrix hit him hard. In the end, Beatrix was able to defeat him. Then she pointed a rose to Sophie, but the rose went to Aggie and told her that she did not need it. Then she went to sit next to another girl from the good school. After that, the students were distributed in their rooms, and Aggie's classmates refused to sleep with her in the same room and continued to bully her. After that, they left the room and closed the door behind them. After that, Aggie heads to the balcony of her room and begins to study the way from her room to the School of Evil. As for Sophie, her roommates make fun of her because she has yellow hair and looks like the princesses of the good school. Meanwhile, Dot, the daughter of the Sheriff of Nottingham, steps into Sophie's defense and introduces her to Annabelle and Hester, her two roommates. When Dot tells her that she's not a witch, Sophie replies that she's not like them or witches. And Hester discovers that the photo they are bullying is her mother. While Aggie tries to save Sophie from Hester, Aggie falls off the balcony and walks over the edge of the building to reach the School of Evil. Meanwhile, Cupid turns into a monster chasing her. Aggie enters the school library and finds blood everywhere. Then Raffle, the long-dead headmaster of the School of Evil, reincarnates and tells her to leave Sophie as she has become queen. After that, he goes to the School of Evil and meets Principal Rin as he heads to his office. Meanwhile, Hester tries to knock Sophie off the balcony, but when she hears Aggie calling for her, Sophie manages to free herself from Hester's grasp and joins her friend. Then, they head to Principal Rin's office, where Aggie informs him that they must leave this place. Sophie demurs and tells him that she does not wish to leave, but rather to transfer to the School of Good because she is not a witch. Rain teaches Sophie that the only solution is for her to find the true love of her life. He tells her that the day she applies to the School of Evil, she will find the true love of her life, and then she will be able to transfer to the School of Good. The next day, each student heads to her class, and Aggie is still searching among the students for someone who could be Sophie's true love. Aggie receives information from her classmates that the person who fails the exam 3 times will turn into a breakfast monster or a teapot that is a mythical being. As for Sophie, she is in the class teaching ugliness to witches, and Hort still looks on lovingly at her, while Aggie is in the beauty class, where the school teaches how to use cosmetics and smile sweetly for their success in beauty subject. In ugly class, Sophie learns how to be ugly in order to succeed in that subject. Of course, the two fail to succeed, and Aggie falls when there is a black cloud over her head, and Sophie falls too. The subject teacher forces her to put her face in a dish of algae as punishment. At lunchtime, Gregor, son of the Prince of Dreams, asks Aggie to sit with her at her table. Aggie agrees, and afterwards, Gregor tells her that he doesn't want him in school and would like to go back to his city and open a shop with regular hardware. Sophie arrives at Aggie and asks her to deliver a message to Beatrix, as she feels that he is the true love of her life. Beatrix then goes to talk to Aggie and tells her that she is the only girl in school who doesn't try to get close to him. She replies that he is very cocky and that she is not her type in men. Beatrix replies that this is the best speech he has ever heard. They laugh together and Aggie tells her her name, then she gives him a letter from Sophie and tells him she is her friend. Then, they attend a jungle survival lesson with their teacher, and discover that the beautiful flower in the forest is a wild flower. Then he leads them to the field of truth and tells them that he looks peaceful but is in fact a murderer, and that anyone who enters the forest at night will be hunted down and killed. Gregor says he does not want to stay at school any longer, and flees towards the forest border where he is caught by a black storm and disappears. Then at the School of Evil, the headmistress asks them to show their magical abilities. At this time, Hester makes the tattoo on her shoulder move and it turns into a little dragon that attacks Sophie. At that moment, Sophie summons a bee and makes it attack the dragon. Hester falls to the ground between life and death, And when Sophie asks the bee to leave her, Raphael materializes. He tells her that she will be by her side because she has the strength he needs. Then she disappears and takes Sophie out of the classroom, and tells her that she sees her lover Al Raffle after 200 years, which means that Sophie's real place is the School of Evil, and at the same time she is the headmaster of the School of Good, where the girls know that the bad guys do not start the attack, but they defend themselves when attacked by the bad guys. She asks them to approach the Lake of Wishes and wish for what they desire. When Aggie puts her hands in the lake, a little girl comes out and tells her that she was locked in the school for so long and thanks her for freeing her. Then a giant, mythical bird like the one that brought them to school appears, and approaches Aggie. Aggie realizes that it is Gregor, and when Beatrix sees her, he approaches her and attacks her with his sword, but Aggie hits him hard. She tells him that this person is Gregor, their original owner. Then, when Sophia goes to the School of Good and tries to get close to Beatrix, the guards of the School of Evil attack her and take her to a torture chamber. At that moment, the principal discovers that mixing between the good guys is forbidden, so they cut Sophia's hair as punishment. When she returns to her room, she sees Raffle in the mirror and tells her that she needs to change. And she discovers that she belongs to the School of Evil, and does not treat anyone with mercy because there is no one who has mercy on her. Then it's time for the party to gain magical powers, where the students of each school stand in line in front of their school's principal, and each principal begins to plant the key to power in the fingers of her students, then unlocks the magic energy latent within them. Here we are surprised when Sophie enters the hall after changing her appearance. She goes to her school principal and makes her free her powers like her colleagues. After that, Beatrix begins to look at her with admiration, and then they agree with Aggie to startle Beatrix in a different way. Then Sophie goes to meet Aggie, who is trained to shoot arrows with the help of her magic power, thanks to which he can aim accurately, which increases Beatrix's admiration for her. And when the students of the two schools learn that the two have strengthened their relationship, they object to that because each of them belongs to a different school. It is here that the board of directors of the two schools decide to hold a jungle trial, where the forest is entered from a different direction, and if they can pass all the dangers facing them and reach each other, then they will agree to their relationship. On the same day at night, they go out into the woods together, and Aggie turns into a bird to help Sophie save her friend. But when Beatrix is in danger in the woods, Sophie doesn't help her, but she helps him Aggie and saves her life, which makes Beatrix angry towards Sophie and he leaves her and goes back to school. After that, Sophie quarrels with her friend and tells her that she has taken her place in good school and taken her lover from her. At this moment, Raffle, who accompanies Aggie, appears in the woods. When he laughed gloatingly at her, Sophia was furious when she returned to school, as the headmistress expressed her displeasure and told her that she had broken the rules by going into the forest to save her friend. When I asked her if she believed that Sophia had good in her, she replied that she considered her to be an ordinary person and that good and evil exist in all people. Afterwards, she tells her that Raffle is out to take over Sophia. Sophia realized that if there was a destruction in the school, the disaster would be colossal. And when I heard the name Raffle from Duffy, I was horrified. Raffle then appears before Sophia and tells her that her friend has betrayed her, and asks her to accept joining forces. Sophia agreed and then Duffy went to inform the school board that Raffle had appeared in the school and posed a danger to everyone. Meanwhile, Rin said that Sophia had gone missing and that she had to be found. Afterwards, Dovizioso finds Sophia in the library and notices her transformation into a witch. And when she saw them, she prepared to enchant them using the blood spell. After that, I participated in a dance party at good school. When Beatrix asks Aggie to be her dance partner, and tells her that he loves her, she refuses and says she must go to save her friend. Sophia entered the ballroom after being turned into a witch, and when the students of the School of Good tried to attack her, she used a blood spell to defeat them. Then she came out of the hall and told Good School that Sophia had turned all the teachers and school guards into little puppets and froze them. They decided that they should attack the School of Evil. Upon arriving at the School of Evil, they find the students of the School of Evil at a dance party. When Sophia told the students of the School of Good to start the attack, they turned into the students of the School of Evil, and her classmates turned into the students of the School of Good. Hence the war began between the students of the two schools, as they got involved in a fierce fight. When Aggie tries to explain to Sophia that what she is doing is wrong and that she should get everything back to normal, Sophia refuses and sends her out of the room. Then she transformed into a bird and flew to Principal Rin's office to take revenge on Raffle. There, Rin's form transforms into Ravel's form and tells her that he is. Throughout this period, Raffle has been posing as his brother. Then we go back in time to watch Raffle kill Rin. After that, we return again to the principal's office, where Raffle reveals to Sophie his plan to change Rin's personality with the aim of destroying good and turning it into evil, and this is what the teachers did with the students who were saved in the exam and who belonged to the good faction. This scenario is repeated 3 times, as at times Raffle asks Sophie to become his lover and they join forces together forever to achieve everything she dreams of. When Sophie agrees, Raffle and the 2 schools grow stronger and fall apart. Then Raffle tells her that the teachers, the students and her friend will die and they will judge the world of eternal misery together. At this moment, Sophie realizes her mistake and declares that she does not wish to harm anyone. At this time, Aggie intervenes and tells Raffle that he will not allow him to destroy his girlfriend. In an attempt to kill her, Raffle shoots an arrow in her direction, but Sophie counters and the arrow hits her instead of Aggie, and Sophie falls to the ground. At this time, Beatrix enters and tries to kill Raffle with his sword, but he cannot. Then Sophie takes the sword from Aggie and kills Ravel. At this moment, the school returns to its original self. After that, we find out that Sophie is not dead and is still alive. And he is very happy to discover that his girlfriend is still by his side. In the end, the 2 schools unite together, and Sophie and Aggie return to their city again. And here our movie ends. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and like to receive all new